I'm ready.
Okay, so welcome to the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. This is a hybrid participation meeting. If you're dialing in on a phone, please use *6 to mute and unmute. So tonight, we will start with 22-43A, Jamie Robinson. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 and a variance in accordance with 305-10.11 of the Marshfield Municipal Code for relief from 305-6.08 to demolish the existing front addition and construct a 9-foot 3 by 38-foot 6 rear addition and an 8-foot 6 by 38-foot 6 front addition and a 10-foot 6 by 39-foot 9 side addition on the property located at 15 Hutchinson Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L10-12-07 and is located in the B3 zoning district. So first, I'll do a roll call.
Oh, good.
Larry, would you like to start?
Larry Keane.
Mark Corwin.
Brian Murphy?
Heidi Conway.
And Feeney's not here yet. We'll have him chime in when he gets here. So this this hearing is going to be continued to 7/26 at 6:30. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
That's done. So now we'll go to 22-66, Peter Bethenis. The petitioner is seeking a variance in accordance with 305-10.11 for relief from 305-6.07 and a special permit in accordance with 305-13.02, point C, .01, and 305-10.10 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 4-foot by 56-foot pier with a 36-foot long ramp and an 8-foot by 16-foot float on the property located at 1184 Ferry Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel 115-24-18 is located in the R3 zoning district. So this petitioner is also requested to move to August 9th, 22 at 6:30. So do I have a second? All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
All right, so we'll go to 22-67, Craig Riccarelli. Is that right, Nancy? Close enough. The petitioner is seeking a variance in accordance with 305-10.11 for the relief from 305-607 and a special permit in accordance with 305-13.02, point C, .01, and 305-10.10 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 4-foot by 127-foot pier with a 37-foot long ramp and an 8-foot by 20-foot float on the property located at 1203 Ferry Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel 115-24-22 and is located in the R3 zoning district. This petitioner has also requested to move to August 9th, 2022 meeting at 6:30 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
All right. So now we'll go to the Boys and Girls Club, 22-64. Jim Bonnell, Boys and Girls Club. The petitioner is seeking a site plan approval in accordance with 305-12.02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 100-square-foot pergola and a fire pit on the property located at 37 Proprietors Drive, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being parcel E09-01-18A and is located in the R1 zoning district. Hello.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Budd. I am working to become the first female Eagle Scout in Marshfield, so this is my Eagle project. And I will basically be constructing a 24-foot by 24-foot pergola with a fire pit in the center. There will be removable benches, but the structure will be right here on this map, right next to the sports courts.
I think it's on the next page, Andrew. Right there. Down on the bottom left, yep, right there. Okay. Sounds pretty simple.
So, how big the fire pit itself, that
Yes.
portion of it, does it sit down in it? Is it?
Yeah, so that will be input into the ground, probably. So the bottom will be 2 inches in the ground, and then it will go up to about 2 feet, and it will be a 3-foot diameter fire pit.
What's your fuel source for paper?
Just wood. It will, yeah. And then that picture is really accurate, except for the Adirondack chairs will be benches.
That's pretty much it right there?
Yep.
So so I saw where it is, but for people who didn't get out there, it's right outside, like behind the pickleball, over by the swimming on the back side of it?
Yes.
Right, okay. And do they have hours that they'll be using this? So it's not during camp? I just want to clarify it for everybody that's going to have any questions about when it would be in use.
So this will be for the Boys and Girls Club to use at whatever time they want. So if they wanted it to be a meeting place, they could use that. It will not be open to anybody who's not like taking part in a Boys and Girls Club program.
Okay.
Went by there today, you got a lot going on there. It's very nice. Yeah.
Thank
A
you.
lot, kids everywhere.
Do you have any other questions from the board?
So who, just real quick, who would be overseeing the fire that's going on there with all the kids and stuff? So would it be the adults, someone like yourself running the programs, and
So that would be
Sleepovers,
a
what,
staff
Friday?
member at the Boys and Girls Club. So somebody who is hired and employed by the Boys and Girls Club would have to be over there and watching. the fire.
managing? Okay.
So I guess my question about that is that, and you may not know, this might be a question for Jim. There's high school kids that work there, and there's little kids that go there. Is it only for adults to be monitoring it, or, and you may not know this, which is fine, we can.
That would probably be a question for Mr. Bunnell. But I know that a lot of times the teenagers just work until like 7-ish, which is usually too early for a fire, so they'll probably just be using it as like a meeting place. So it will probably be more at night to groups who like rent it out with the Boys and Girls Club.
To groups, meaning,
Like it could be,
like if the Molly Fund or something had an
Yeah.
event there, because they're part of it, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Anything from the audience? Any other people?
Yeah, a few questions.
Okay, do we have your name?
Yeah, Walter Graney, 3 Proprietors Drive, Unit 20.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I just got a question. So what side of the building is this on? Is this on when you're approaching the building, is it on the right or the left?
when you're approaching the building, this would be on the left. It's by the pool.
Okay, cool.
Can you see
All right,
that
so-
on the screen?
Yep, I can see that now. Sorry, I joined company, so thank you. And then what would the hours of operation for that actually end up being?
Well, we're assuming it would just run with the club, whatever the club hours are.
Till dawn, so, dusk, essentially? Is that what you're saying?
Well, whatever the club is currently using their outside facilities for, I would assume this would fall under that.
Okay. I guess that's cool, because on the other side, the biggest concern from the HOA being on the side in between the supposed dog park in the residence and having additional foot traffic at night in between both from the left, I assume that's not a problem.
So I can chime in, Brian. This is not
Who is this?
in the area with the dog park. It also, the Boys and Girls Club is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
So I would imagine it falls within those hours too.
Okay, yeah, that's totally fine. We just, the HO didn't want to have people wandering around, 11 o'clock at night.
Understood?
Yeah, totally. No, you totally, we love the Boys and Girls Club, want to see, continued use of that. Cool, thanks guys.
All right, anyone else? Seeing that there's none, I'll make a motion that we close 22-64, Boys and Girls Club, 37 Proprietors Drive. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Oh, Heidi Cohen, yeah.
All right, you guys, I think we can vote on this. I'm good with it. Everyone else okay?
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Any
that there'll be
discussion?
adults monitoring it and not, some of
just
the
put
kids.
that in there.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm totally on board with it.
Adult supervision, so. All right, so do I have to put anything, Andrew, we don't have anything for site plan, do we?
I think you can ask Nancy. I think there are some requirements for site plan review. I'm not exactly sure what those are, but I know that I've met with Alyssa on this. She has absolutely done her due diligence on this project and figured out absolutely everything that she needs to in order to get it done. So I'm looking forward to working with her on the building aspect of this.
Done a great job. Really looks
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve 22-64, Boys and Girls Club, 37 Proprietors Drive, site plan approval. On a plan dated, anyone have better eyesight than me?
There's a set of plans.
2/22? 19?
Yes.
Get a site plan shown.
All right, 2/22/19.
Yep.
Good. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
All right, you're all set. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Of our scout? So is this your final project in order to be awarded the Eagle Scout, the Eagle Award?
Yes, this is my Eagle project.
Fantastic. When do you expect that you will receive that Eagle Scout Award? Like 6 months from now,
Probably,
after it's built?
yeah, right when this project is completed, I will get set up for an Eagle Award review. So
Fantastic. How old are you?
I'm 15.
Yeah.
How long will it take to build it? I'm sorry, I didn't ask that.
So it is estimated to take 2 to 4 weekends to build.
Really? Good for you, jeez.
Very impressive,
You're
congratulations.
16 right now, and you have
job.
no idea the impact of becoming an Eagle Scout will be in your life, especially as you approach college and your first job. And if you decide to join the military, it's a big deal. So congratulations.
Huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
Totally agree. Thanks, Alyssa.
All right, so now we
Good
have...
job, Dad.
We have 22-65, Paul and Jessica Philpott. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 23-foot by 17.5-foot second story, 17.5-foot second story addition and a 10-foot by 15.5 feet two-story addition over the existing deck on the property located at 52 Danforth Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L05-12-06 and is located in R3 zoning district. Come on up. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Andrew, do we have, you gonna pull this up? So does it, it obviously sits within the existing footprint?
Yes. Hi. You doing? Good, how are you?
With the exception of the red above the deck on top there.
Yeah, but that's all, so the footprint was 17.5,
Yep.
and then be 104.7, so that all
Yep.
sits within
Okay.
that.
Yep,
The
I
only-
see.
So Andrew, on the bay window, that falls under the,
That falls under the
2 foot,
2-foot
yeah,
extension allowance.
yeah, that's what I figured.
Yep.
Okay, so everything else is pretty straightforward within there. Obviously, the lot coverage is good. We won't endorse the shed. Can we have a look at the architecturals? Anyone have questions on the site plan? Andrew, are you pulling up the architectural?
Oh, sorry, the only thing about the, so with the bay window extension,
Yeah.
so this actually doesn't fall within the allowance for bay windows or 2-foot extensions, so
What?
those allow for, those allow for 2 foot into the required setback, right? The required setback is 15 feet, so 2 feet in would only be 13 feet, right? But the house itself is already non-conforming in the fact that it's less than 15 feet from the street. So it's already non-conforming in that aspect, so it only needs the special permit to extend that non-conforming.
Right.
And there's also,
Same with the mudroom extension. This area essentially is conforming to the setbacks. It's just a conforming addition to a non-conforming house. The only thing that really requires a special permit, I think, is the extension of the bay window.
Okay.
there's already an existing bow window there.
Yeah, can we see the architectural, Andrew? Does anyone have questions on this?
Pretty straightforward.
There's no foundation under that, correct?
Under what?
Under the bow window extension, there's no foundation. So does that still has to have a 15 feet setback? Or have to
Well, no,
have-
it's under the,
When the building area goes to the outside walls, and it doesn't include extensions, like balconies and bay windows and stuff like that. However, the bay window, the 2-foot extension is only into the required setback. So adding it any further into an already non-conforming setback requires a special permit, which is why we're here.
that's why you're here.
You know, it's not that it's not allowed, it's allowed via special permit.
What's your name?
Oh, what's your name for the record?
My name's Steve Wiles, I'm the contractor on this job. Sorry.
So, any questions from the board on this plan? Andrew, you have anything else to add?
No.
Okay.
I'm fine with everything here.
Do you have any questions from the audience? Seeing that there's none, gonna make a motion that we close 22-65 Paul and Jessica Philpott, 52 Danforth Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve 20, and no one has any discussion, correct? Gonna make a motion that we approve 22-65 Paul and Jessica Philpott, 52 Danforth Street. Do we have our little spiel up there or no? Yeah, they're on.
And Bob's packet?
Andrew, can you roll up Bob's packet just so we can do the 1 to 10 agreement?
You want one? Yeah.
Or we can just say we agree. Oh, there it is. So we agree that the following general conditions to be fulfilled, 1 through 10.
10.
The board in agreement with that?
I am.
Yes.
Brian?
Heidi?
Steve?
Yeah.
All right. Do we need any other conditions on this, Nancy? I don't believe so, right?
Is there a shed or anything?
Oh, we're not endorsing the shed. All right, so make a motion that we approve. Do I have a second? With our conditions? All in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Cole and I.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So, I already read in those two. Is Stellwagen here?
Do they need to be, or?
I don't know. I don't know if he has anything else to present.
All right, so he's not here. What's that?
Oh, Mill Creek. Not tonight.
Creek's not coming tonight.
Yeah, we need to.
You know that, right,
Oh.
Brian? Mill Creek's not on tonight. Yeah. So I guess we would go to continued hearings, 22-52, James Kilcoyne.
Members of the board, Will Eads here for Mr. Kilcoyne.
What's your last name? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Eads, E-D-E-S. I know it's a tough one.
I get it.
And I believe Mr. Kilcoyne is joining us by Zoom as well, and Adam Brodsky sends his regrets that he is caught in another hearing, so not here today. So, my understanding is we're here, this matter has been discussed at length, but that there is a remaining question that Mr. Stewart had raised at the previous hearing.
Yes. Well, we just wanted some clarification. Heidi, do you remember what?
My understanding was we were waiting for some additional, you were waiting for some additional input from from town council, Mr. Cal.
Yeah, Tony, do you have anything additional?
No, I don't, and Bob didn't tell me anything.
All right. So I would just say,
So to clarify, my understanding is that Mr. Stewart's issue was that he requested that amendment be made to the order of conditions relating to the walkway across. I'm getting this. This is what I was informed. Please,
Andrew, do you,
Mr. Stewart, correct me if I'm misquoting you.
What?
Andrew?
I'm sorry, I really can't hear the applicant. I'm going to adjust the microphone towards our.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah, it is, thank you.
All right. My understanding, Mr. Stewart, is you had an objection relating to the wish to have the order of conditions amended related to the walkway under the Wetlands Protection Act?
That's not correct, no.
No, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Okay, well,
No, that's
Hey,
good.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Tony, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I missed it on Bob's memo because it's the thing at the very top. So the very first portion of his memo says that
Yeah.
the board should not hold up its vote tonight because of matters pending before the Conservation Commission. So I just quickly called Bob and he confirmed that you guys should vote on this tonight.
Okay.
That was the only, that's all he told me.
which was where I was leading as well, is that
All right. So, this is a minor modification for a special permit to authorize a 12-foot by 14-foot wood platform added to the timber walkway and a special permit in accordance with 305-13.01.c, 305-10.12, and to authorize no less than 200 square foot ramada within the inland wetlands district on the property located at 51 North River Drive. So, do you have anything else, Andrew, or?
This is not my presentation. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So you're just, basically what you're saying is that the wood platform, you're looking at that as a minor modification?
Correct.
So the Ramada, you're saying, is a minor modification?
No, I believe the wood platform is a minor modification. I believe there's a separate special permit application.
There's two of them, okay.
Yeah.
So this is what you're talking about first,
So
okay.
the
great.
Ramada is the
Apologies.
special, is the special permit.
I didn't want to go
I'm
over
like, I don't
everything
know
again,
if
because my
that's-
understanding was you guys have discussed this at length
We
already.
have.
We
so-
have, but we're just clarifying what we're doing
Absolutely.
tonight. So we have, the wood platform is a minor modification, and the Ramada is the special permit.
Correct.
Is that correct?
So, is it these two? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. This one and this one?
Yeah.
So it looks like they're both special permits. Are these different ones?
You don't think you want
These are the two I have, so I just want to clarify so we make sure we do this properly.
Andrew, can you put up the application so we can see the minor modification and the special permit?
Is that right?
Yeah, we can't.
Dock was like that,
We have
he
to
built a
do
bump out. It's like right in the middle of
Right.
it, and then he's
Is
got,
it the same
he put a
thing?
roof over it.
They're both the same thing?
So this is what they call
Okay,
a cabana.
so they're both the same thing?
You want the application?
No, I think we have it in front of us.
We're just
Special
not sure
permit
which
for
one we're
this,
working
he
on.
wants
So-
this as a minor.
Which special permits do we have?
Yeah,
Two
which
special
one?
permits?
So
Yeah, the
15,
you can't just modify
It's already, it's that, yeah.
permit, but the modification comes through this new special permit.
so 14-24 is now 22-52.
We can't use 14-24 because that's already filed.
Right, so that's what this is, it's
So
about
everything is
22-52.
2252.
Okay,
So Andrew, can you pull up 2252?
okay.
For this case?
The zoning application for 2252?
Yeah. So that has the special permit in it.
Existing
This is the
special
modification of 1424.
Right. We don't have 2252?
I do.
There is no
It's-
1424.
I think that's the second.
That's gone.
Oh,
Now
They
it's
use that on their
this.
application, but we can't modify that.
Oh, okay, they use that on the application, but
Look at here.
we're
Yeah.
using
Look
2252.
here, it says what the things are. From Adam Brodsky's letter, from 2252, 2242, 52.
So Tony, what we're gonna do is do the special permit as 2252, and the minor modification would apply to the new special permit?
It'll be written so that
I
two
think,
sections.
If you want to apply to it, it'll just be another vote.
It will reference that it's modifying 1424, but it all comes under 2252.
All right.
right, the point was to modify the existing special permit. Because there was a platform extension added to the pier/walkway for the dock, which was permitted under 1424. So that extension of that existing permit needed to get modified. Then what they told us is that they constructed a separate freestanding ramada outside the footprint of the dock. So that required its own special permit. That's what was determined that's what I determined on my notice of violation. That's what was upheld on the appeal, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
So there'll be two sections on the decision. One will be a section modifying 1424, and the other one will be for the special permit, but they're all under the one number.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the board? Comments from the audience? Go ahead.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. I'm very much concerned when these docks are being discussed anywhere in town. The idea is to make them as least impactful, not just environmentally, but aesthetically, visually. If you start approving ramadas and extended platforms, this is going to look like a Southeast Asian fishing village after a while. And it's going to be very impactful. You're going to see ramadas and roofs and everything appearing on these docks that are supposed to be as inconspicuous as possible. And that doesn't sit well with me. Also, given new floodplain rules, I wonder what's to prevent something like a ramada from acting like a sail. It's in a very exposed area. High winds, we experience in places like that routinely. And what requirements would there be for something like that? I mean, as I understand it, you need a special permit now to put a fence up on the floodplain. You're going to put a roof that's going to be like a sail. And is it going to get pulled out of the ground? Are there hurricane straps that are required? There's a whole bunch of requirements. And I think to the intent of the floodplain rules, which include mitigating problems like debris and stuff flying through the air and through storms, which is part of the intent, this seems like a really bad way to go. So I would hope you would not allow a ramada to be built, which will set a bad precedent and violate the intent of the floodplain rules.
Thank you, Joe. Do you have anything for that?
Nothing specific to add, other than what's already been discussed in Adam's letter, and it meets the requirements of the Inland Wetlands District in terms of, any adverse impact on, the groundwater, flooding, etc. So,
Can I comment on this real quick? I've gone down to this location a couple times, and I went there in the wintertime when there was no foliage, anything. And it's where this platform was built is up towards the applicant's house. So it's set back. You can barely see it when everything is defoliated. As far as I was there 3 weeks ago, you can't even see this. It's completely, so as far as aesthetics go, I don't have a problem with it at all. You can't see it.
Do we have anything else from the audience?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
John Cusick, Marshfield, Mass. I agree with one of your members just said, you can't see it. And that's why the applicant built this. And then, unfortunately, he was caught. So my suggestion to your board, Mr. Murphy, you have two options. You can approve it or not approve it. And I think you should vote not to approve this special permit. This applicant built this illegally. If it was anybody else in the town, it would have been ripped down. So I agree with your member. That's why he built it. You can't see it. Never thought he'd be caught, but he was. So let's see what your board can do with this, because I think it should be disapproved and taken down.
Okay, thank you for your time. Tony, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
What the heck is a ramada?
Well, I think with this application process, as we all know with these docks, it's not a quick process. It took quite a bit of engineering and design and time, so I don't think this applicant was really trying to hide anything. Was there miscommunication along the way? Did he make a judgment error? Possibly, but he also spent quite a bit in permitting and engineering and design, so I don't think he was trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes.
Anything else from the board?
No, I mean, I do think it probably should have been done a little bit differently, but we're here now, and as long as it's structurally sound and Andrew is okay with that, and Bob guided us where we're supposed to go with it, I'm not how to vote, but just the proper way to handle it. I'm good with it. I don't have any other questions, I mean.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we close 22-52 James J. Kilcoyne Jr., 51 North River Drive. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Do you guys want to talk about this and do it now, or?
Yeah, sure, I don't care.
I'm good to discuss it for a minute and go with it.
All right. Is there anything for discussion here that anyone
Yeah,
else has?
the way I'm looking at this, as far as the minor modification, as far as the platform, I would be looking at that as being a minor modification that was addressed in the field and being addressed now. As far as the special permit for the Kubota or whatever they're calling it here, how would we go about confirming that, as Mr. Petrovic brought up, that it was built to code and hurricane straps and whatnot, so it doesn't go taken off in a storm? Is that something?
Andrew, is that a question for you? Did you receive some, I think we received some design criteria on this, but
I mean, I got a sketch. Contrary to what Larry said, the platform extension in the Ramada did not have any engineering, was not included in any of the engineering for the dock or the pier. I imagine the same type of footings were used for the extension or whatever it is, pier, I don't, whatever they used for the dock was what they used for the extension, but there was no plans, there's no engineering as far as that goes. As far as the Ramada itself, I got a sketch, but that's not anything that really addresses any of the building code requirements.
so, Tony, would we, if we decide to approve this, would we condition this on some type of a design criteria that it was built under, or do we not need that? You there, Tony?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Do we need any, do we need to condition it with any design criteria for what they, how they built this?
Well, it's already built, right?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think they're just asking, and they can correct me on this, but I believe they're just asking to be approved as is.
Correct.
Why couldn't we request the fact that there be an engineered drawing and a plan, a stamped plan on it, where it's an existing?
You guys had already required that they pull a building permit for it.
Yeah.
That's part of it,
So, I mean, that kind of, it's going to have to meet building code to get a permit, so.
So that's covered
So that would
on
be
your
covered,
end.
and your inspection would be covered under part of that, correct?
Yep.
So the normal building.
We don't have to, that's gonna be in your wheelhouse, not
Yeah,
ours.
same as the construction of any house,
Okay,
We're assuming as the ZBA, as they go through the permitting of the building permit, they're gonna do it to code.
okay.
Yep.
So do we have to condition it based this
I don't think
decision?
you have to.
Because it's already in the original decision.
That's already a requirement. You don't have to
Okay.
condition it because it's already required.
It's assumed, yeah.
All right, good. So, Tony, on this, since it's 2252, but we also have 1424, I believe, in here, how do you word this? Special permit approval under 2252?
We have to vote on each one. So if you're, Andrew, you explained it before. So you're modifying the existing special permit and then granting a second one?
That's correct.
So 1424, I would,
Under 1424.
so 1424
The modification of special permit 1424.
would be the first,
To allow the extension of the platform
okay?
in the inland wetlands district.
All right,
And then you're doing a separate special permit for the separate structure, which is the Ramada. They said it was a 4-posted separate structure outside of the footprint of the, and not attached to the thing. So it's its own special permit, it's its own structure.
All right.
And that's the 2252, I believe.
So do I have to, I only have to close 2252?
2252. It's all 2252, but it's two parts of it.
But there's two parts.
It covers 14, yeah.
That's confusing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I think I misunderstood your question. It's one case, but you just have to vote on each portion.
Twice. Each portion of the decision.
There's two pieces to it.
All right.
Do you need that?
Did I close this?
One case,
We did.
one is a modification of the existing case, one's a special permit for the new.
But they're both under 2252.
They're both under this hearing.
Application, yeah. All right. So now, jog my memory, did I close?
You closed it, yes.
You did. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we approve 2252.
Minor modification.
We'll have to split them. Yeah. Minor modification of a special permit 1424 to authorize a 12-foot by 14-foot wood platform. And so I have to do that first, right? And then secondly, go into the second part of the special permit, Tony?
Yes.
All right. So do I have a second on that part?
So just make sure it covers all of that, to cover that. So it's just kind of taking their wording back out again, okay? Just for the platform.
Right, so that's, yeah, we'll just approve of that.
Approve a timber walkway under special permit case 14-24. Yep. A minor modification. Yep.
Well, it's the wood platform added to the timber
So,
walkway. The timber
right, so
walkway is already there.
it's the first one, so it's an application of the minor modification of the existing special permit to authorize the wooden platform added to the previously approved timber walkway. That's the whole thing in its entirety. And then you go to the Ramada. That's how that's what Brodsky had put in his letter.
So we're authorized, all right, special permit on 1424 to authorize an approximately 12-foot by 14-foot wood platform that has been added to the timber walkway. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Larry, and all in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Coleman, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Then I have special permit 305 for 30501, 2252, to build 200 square foot Ramada within the Inland Wetlands District on the property located at 51 North River Drive. Now, what do I have to add in that, Tony, for anything else? I mean, other than our standard 1 to 10?
Yeah, it wasn't engineered or designed.
I don't think you have to add anything.
What's that, Tony?
You don't have to add anything.
Add anything, okay. So, and the board, do we have it up there?
Why do you let Tony just talk?
We should.
Mr. Chairman, it's Bob Galvin. I'm on the phone too, listening to this. The public is not allowed to participate in the closed session of the meeting.
I'm trying to mute them as soon as they speak.
I agree.
John, come on, stop, please.
Please mute them.
So go ahead, so we have that right. Bob, you listen to what I said.
I think you're right.
I agree with what I said.
Nancy, somehow it got muted there. The laptop needs to get unmuted. Thank
He
you.
unmuted it.
Trying to mute.
So Andrew, can you put up, or we can just agree to it, that special permit,
I'm I'm trying to mute people. You want me to put something up?
Oh, forget
It's a
it.
full-time job.
I'll do it. I can do it.
The nature, so the general conditions, do we find that the general conditions to the special permit to be fulfilled, 1 through 10, do we agree with that statement on the board?
I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement?
Yes, I'm sorry.
See, yeah. All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve both parts of, well, we got to approve the special permit, the second half first. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Bowen, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Now do we have to approve the entire thing together, or is that done?
I think the findings will be done both.
All right.
They're both covered, as far as I know.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Good night.
Thank you. All right, so now do we have Stellwagen here? This is a continuation, right? We don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, we needed to, he needed to take a, go look at it, people go look at it and see what we were dealing with.
Oh, we want to do a site visit?
We did.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, so do you have anything new for us, other than we've done site visit?
Yeah, so during the site visit, we discussed the handicap accessibility of the deck that we're proposing. So for accessibility, what I'm proposing is a ramp that's compliant with 521 CMR Section 24. So the ramp will be hard pack surface just up against the fence leading up to the deck.
Okay. Any other questions from the board on this application?
All right, I'm just getting organized, hold on a second.
Now, what's proposed for the other lot on the other side of your property bounds? Just a dirt lot?
I'm sorry,
What's on the other side, where you're...
on the...
I know it's all dirt now, but is that gonna be a buffer zone?
It's
What's going on with that?
farmland.
Do you know?
I think my neighbor's planning on putting he has a farm back there.
Yeah.
But yes, there is a buffer zone, so like there's a berm.
Yeah, I went out
hill.
back there,
Yep.
I saw it, yeah. But it's just all dirt now, it's nothing now.
Yep. I think it's going to continue to be nothing.
So I have a question. So the temporary stage, whatever, that you have right now,
Yep.
why are you not just keeping it there where it's just more level, and what, you know, like, what's the attraction to having it up? Just,
The reason that we put the deck where it is because it wasn't a usable space. That hill really was just, like, it was, other than just kids running down it, wasn't able to be used for anything. So we wanted to be able to get the full potential out of our beer garden. It's the existing use there, so there's no proposed change to that. So just to be able to use it to its fullest potential.
Any other questions from the board?
Well, just to me, it looked like you do have other options there, so no matter how this goes for you tonight, I mean, you do have options back there with relocating your deck. You have a nice area back there, it's very nice, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, we do have options, and it's not that we need a deck.
Yeah.
It's just we wanted to put something that would allow us to use the space where the deck is.
Yeah.
Like, if we weren't able to put a deck there, we wouldn't do a deck. I mean, there's really no reason for us to have one other than
You wouldn't
just
shake it over a bit to the other side, and, you know, be within compliance, where you wouldn't need a variance? Moved it towards your building?
I don't know that there's a spot in the beer garden area that would be in compliance with the setback.
I could agree with him on that, Larry. There's nowhere really on the site that would allow them to be in compliance with any setback for this deck. So if they want to have it, we kind of have to issue a variance on this.
In other words, if they were to put this deck, it'd end up, to try to be in compliance, you'd be right in the middle of their beer garden, right in the middle of everything, correct?
Or in the middle of their parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, really, is really where it would be.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, do I have anyone in the audience want to speak on this? Anyone else on board? No? Seeing that there is none.
Well, what's your feedback on this, Andrew?
I don't have any problem with this. It's totally up to the board as whether or not they want to do it. I have full confidence that everything's going to be done to code. You know, the only thing I would ask, if they're going to do anything that's going to be ADA compliant, is that they have an architect sign off on any designs, just to certify that they are ADA compliant.
Do you see any negatives with this being on the property line like this, or?
I mean,
No.
they meet the criteria for a variance.
We'll go over it.
Hmm?
We'll go through it. All right, so
What did Andrew say? No negative, he didn't say?
Andrew
Not
said,
from a building perspective.
All right.
As far as zoning goes, it's really up to the ZBA to decide.
all right, so I'll make a motion that we close 2258 Stellwagen Beer Company, 100 Enterprise Drive. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Oh, Heidi Conway, aye. Well, just to close it, is that what we're doing? Okay, yeah, Heidi Conway, aye.
Feeney, aye.
Do you guys want to discuss this and do this tonight, or?
I'd like to give a little feedback on it. I just think this, you know, it being in the industrial park, it's kind of a unique area. I don't think he's really encroaching on any other businesses or residents or anything like that. You've been running a pretty successful business back there. I'm sure the town wants you to continue on and give you any tools possible to continue with that. That's just my feedback on it. And, you know, being a unique spot that it is, you know, I don't see you really encroaching too much on neighbors.
Nancy, when do we have to answer this by?
I agree with Larry, and I'd be in favor of it.
We still have some time, but he's also running out of summer.
Okay. All right, so,
Just my opinion.
you're okay with, voting on it tonight?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Heidi?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to make, well, we have to put up the, Andrew, can you put up the, variance criteria?
Yep.
So we do have 100 days, just if anybody wants to think about it, we have 100 days on the variance.
This time, I just.
Okay, I just want to make sure we know that. From when did the application come in?
I have to go back and look at the
Okay.
spreadsheet.
Sorry. Right here, section D.
Okay. So we have the 5 or, so it's 7 of these. So the conditions and circumstances are unique to the applicant's lot, structure, or building, do not apply to the neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same district.
No.
Strict application of the provisions of this bylaw would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the lot, structure, or building in a manner equivalent to use permitted by other owners of their neighboring lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. The unique conditions of the circumstances are not the result or actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the bylaw. Relief, if approved, will not cause substantial detriment to the public or impair the purposes of the intent of the bylaw. Relief is approved will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon properties in the district. So, does everyone agree that this meets that criteria?
No.
I am.
I am.
No.
I am.
All right, so I guess we'll have to vote. So I'm going to make a motion in the positive that we approve Stellwagen Beer Company, 100 Enterprise Drive, variance. We've looked at and reviewed the criteria, 1 to 5. And also, site plan approval would also be needed for the deck because that, does everyone agree that they don't have a problem with the site plan approval?
I do not.
I agree.
Any questions on the site plan, Heidi?
I just don't agree with the whole thing. Yeah.
Steve?
We need a dimensional variance for this.
So, like I said, I'm gonna make this in the positive that, we approve Stellwagen Beer Company, the variance. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, no.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Okay, now I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the site plan approval for Stellwagen Beer Company, 100 Enterprise Drive, 22-58. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Corwin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, nay.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Is that it, Nancy?
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Take care.
So now we have, is it the, that word again? The solar people. Right, is that who's next, the solar people? Solar people would be next? Or,
Solar? The school's next.
School's next? Okay.
Because it's both
Connolly.
That's why I
Commerce and both Conley.
Conley, that's why I get confused. All right, so we have the school.
Steve's just getting here. I don't know if you want to do solar.
Good evening, everyone. Solar or
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
You want us and you want solar?
Go ahead.
Are we doing the school?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have to read it in, it's already been written. That is the same names on these things. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Attorney Steve Gard for the applicant. With me tonight is Brian Taylor at Stenbeck & Taylor, the site engineer as well. We also have the principals of both the construction outfit and the school operation. So since we last met, we had received the peer review reports from both Pat Brennan and Ed Pesci, and Stenbeck & Taylor has addressed each of the issues. Those documents were submitted to you folks. The responses are in red. They've also modified and adjusted the plans in accordance with everything that they've asked for, with one exception, of course, the sidewalk, which I think that Brian and Ed will talk about a little bit. Sidewalk is, anyway, we can get into that in a minute. Since then as well, the board had expressed some interest and concern about, a safety plan or a security plan. I talked to the client about that. They sent over the security plan that they have in place they intend to have in place for this site, which is identical to the one that they have at the Beverly site as well. So that safety plan was submitted to the fire department and to the police department. The fire safety officer, deputy chief of safety sent back some comments about a few fire extinguisher locations, so we incorporated those into the revised plan, and that was resubmitted. Police Chief Tavares submitted an email today that I forwarded to Nancy, suggesting that he was comfortable with the security plan and that he would, of course, work with the school once the school is up in operation in both implementing modern safety techniques, mechanisms, as well as training as well. One of the things that Chief Tavares had asked me to consider was a dual vestibule electronic lock system, so that there's a buzz on the first door and a buzz on the second door, and either that's operated with a key fob or it's operated by the receptionist behind the desk. And
I know I printed it.
While he said he couldn't require something like that, he's been encouraging even our schools, the Marshfield schools, to do that as well. So having spoken to the client, they said, that's what we're going to do. We're already going to do that. We do that in Beverly at our other school. So it's Beverly, right? Yeah, Beverly, the other school. So that's already going to be in place and in the plans. All the doors obviously would be locked, and the front door would be electronically controlled by either a key fob if a staff member had it, or of course the receptionist could let someone in or out. The receptionist will also have a 2-button buzzer underneath the desk that will alert fire and police immediately in the event of emergency. And the other typical lockdown protocols that we all kind of implement now in our public school systems, they have that protocol in place as well. They do training and drills to that effect as well. So that's really what we did since the last time we met. Everything else is pretty much the same. We didn't change any of the design. I did, yeah. The fire department replied to my request to review the safety plan. I went through the comments on the peer reviews. They look pretty good, and Brian had changed the plans to meet Ed's and Pat's expectations. Brian, do you have anything?
We could walk through all the peer review comments and the results, but as Steve summarized, we addressed everything in the revised plans. We included some additional sheets too that Ed had made a very good suggestion about an erosion control plan. Given it's a lot of site work going on, so we made an addendum plan for that purpose. We also did an additional addendum plan that gives a construction sequencing. It's very detailed. Steve was able to provide us that. And we did a operations and maintenance plan as well. And so we added 2 sheets to the plan set. So we have the original plan set. Each sheet was revised accordingly. And we have the landscape plan, we have the photometric plan, and now we have 2 other additional plans. So I think we're good to go and consistent with what peer review had requested.
We're happy to go through the line by line with a peer review if you'd like, but
we probably want to hear from Ed.
Sure.
Ourselves.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Ed Pesci of Pesci Engineering, the peer review consultant for the project for the zoning board, and with me tonight via Zoom is Ms. Kirsten Braun from Ron Mueller and Associates, a traffic consultant, and also Pat Brennan from Amory Engineers, who reviewed the stormwater and water supply. So I'll hold my comments till the end, so why don't I start with Pat. It looks like Brian from Stenbeck and Taylor have actually tried to aggressively, and I should start by saying Pat aggressively worked hard on his schedule to get comments over a week ago to Brian and his team, discussing numerous stormwater improvements and, basically helping moving it along, I think, better than any other way. So I know Brian appreciates that. Today, responses were sent and revised plans were sent, and today, I've been on the road myself doing inspections for 2 other communities today. So I haven't been able to completely review everything, although I verbally discussed this out in the hall with Brian. But Pat himself has actually written a second response to comment letter today. So Pat, why don't you take over and tell us where we are with your review?
Sure, thank you. Pat Brennan with Amory Engineers. As Ed mentioned and Attorney Guard mentioned, Brian's pretty much addressed all of the comments that I had. There's only 2 minor things remaining. One of them is under my comment 2, where they, I had suggested that they needed separate fire protection water main and domestic water main from the main in the street into the building. their response was they had confirmed with the water department that they could just run the 6-inch fire main in and then tap off that with the domestic just outside the building. I just think we need confirmation in writing from the water department that that is okay. The reason why you have two mains when you have a fire connection, not that it would happen in this case, but if for some reason the owner of the property did not pay the water bill, the town can go out and shut off the domestic water without going on the property and maintain the fire main in service so that the building isn't at risk. And that's the reason for doing the two separate mains. Then my only other comment that there was anything remaining on was comment 11 related to the drainage easement. It also relates to the access easements that they have on the property. They just don't show the geometry with the meets and bounds, bearings and distances on the plan. And I know in the response from Stenbeck and Taylor today, their registered land surveyor's out, so he was going to make those, add those bearings and distances when he gets back from vacation. So if the board were to approve it, I think that could be easily be a condition. That's it for me at this point.
Okay, thanks, Pat. And earlier today, or I should say late yesterday, Kirsten Braun sent me basically a bullet list that I forwarded to the group, to Nancy and you, Mr. Chairman, as well as Brian and Jack Gillen, the traffic engineer. And Kirsten mentioned a number of things in her bullet list that need to be addressed. And Jack's not here tonight. I guess he had a conflict tonight. He might be on his way here.
Right.
Might be on his way here. And so we can say, you know, that we can defer that till Jack arrives. But I don't know if I'm assuming Jack's taken a quick read of this today, just like everybody else did probably.
Yes, and said that I think he'd spoken with someone in the company.
Okay. Kirsten, why don't you give us your update on this?
Yeah. Kirsten Braun, traffic engineer with Braun Miller Associates. I worked on the peer review. So we did an initial look through of the traffic assessment that was prepared for the project. We did have a few comments. These are the bullet points that you received are probably the larger comments out of what will be in our review letter. We're working on finalizing that letter now. But I'll just run through the bullet points that were sent yesterday. The first one is, I know there was a narrative that was prepared for this project, and in the narrative it was mentioned that there will be a maximum of 80 students at the school, whereas in the traffic assessment it does say that there will be a maximum of 70 students. Just jumping down a couple bullet points because this is sort of related. The trip generation assumptions were based on operational data for the school, and that operational data assumes 70 students in the study. So that was just one thing that I think should be, that discrepancy should be clarified. And the trip generation numbers should be based on the 80 students. Staying with trip generation, I know that they made a comparison to ITE land use code for daycares. And that's basically nationally accepted trip generation data. And one thing is, I don't think this use really fits a daycare facility, so I'm not sure that comparison is useful. Looking at ITE data, there really isn't a great land use to use as for comparison purposes. So we recommended that operational data be used, which was based on the number of students, number of staff, drop off and pick up times. Means of transportation to school, how many kids will be taking buses. So we just want that to be updated in the study to make sure we really have a grasp on what kind of trip generation we can expect for this site. We also took a look to try and understand the distribution of traffic, which cars are going east and west and to where. It was noted that this site will have the same general trip generating characteristics as other residential communities, but we didn't see any backup data for that, so we'd really just like that information to be provided so we have an opportunity to review that as well. But at any rate, using their trip generation assumptions, it looks like 32 trips are expected to utilize Enterprise Drive, and 47 trips are expected to utilize Proprietors Drive. All those trips, based on the nature of the roadways, will end up at Route 139. I know that the intersections of each of those streets, Enterprise Drive and Friars Drive, the intersections with Route 139 were not included in the traffic study as far as traffic analyses go. But looking at Mass DOT traffic impact assessment guidelines, they aren't required to include those intersections in analysis. And likely they won't have a great impact at those intersections because it's not a large amount of traffic. But given that those intersections are already streamed as is, we do recommend that the applicant provide some contribution to the traffic mitigation fund. I think I've read that it's about $630 per peak hour trip, which makes sense for this type of development. One of the last other big items really pertain to the safety of that site driveway. Stopping site distances were calculated, which are basically the minimum distances required for a vehicle traveling along Causeway to be able to stop if somebody did pull out of that driveway. We noticed that those measurements were based on the 85th percentile speeds, which is correct. However, based on the site plan, it looks like there is a bit of a downhill grade traveling eastbound on Commerce Way. So we did recommend that in those calculations, that grade change be taken into account for that stopping site distance, and then the measurements be redone to confirm that traveling eastbound vehicles would be able to stop if somebody did pull out of the school site driveway. And that's just a quick initial review. These were some of the larger items that we saw. We are formalizing a letter, and we should have it in the next couple of days.
Thanks very much, Kirsten. So two things I would say that, we'd ask that the applicant respond to the letter, the formal letter when they get it, and that the recommendation, both from Kirsten and myself, is that the $630 per peak hour trip mitigation contribution be a condition of approval if the board so decides to approve the project. We're down to my list of comments on site plan review. I have had an opportunity to look at all the revisions that were made, and I would say that every one of the plan revisions that I asked for have been satisfactorily addressed. There are a couple that still remain for us to talk about, but we can, I think, address that by the discussion tonight. So first off, there are two items in my July 9th letter that item number 2 discusses that some comments that were received by others. One was a comment received from the town planner's office. Assistant town planner Karen Horn mentioned that there's a portion of a parcel that was intended to be conveyed to the town. Brian, I don't remember seeing that in your response letter this morning. I scanned it really fast. I didn't have time to print it because I was on the road. So could you just go over those two items in that comment number 2?
Sure. As everyone will probably recall from our most recent town meeting, the initial plan when we designed the park in 2004 was to have a dog park at the top of the hill to the west of our property on the northerly side of Commerce Way. Town meeting voted to negate that, the desire to have it there, and instead is going to be going down at the bottom of the hill at Seth Sprague and Proprietor's Drive down by the Boys and Girls Club. So it became a moot point. Mr. Baraki was here and had discussions with the town, and the town has no intention or desire to use that piece of property that was originally abutting this property. So now that particular little piece of property is enveloped in the 5.3 acres that we have for this site.
Okay, so you need to make a response, I guess, to the...
We can copy on all the stuff from the town.
Yeah, to the town planner's office, so they don't go, no, it's not that. They want it for, special mailbox location. I don't know, whatever, I don't know. But I just want to make sure it's documented so that what you're saying, it's properly addressed. The second item in that item 2 was just, again, the recommendation about the peak hour per trip fund, cost per peak hour trip, which will get adjusted with the revised traffic analysis that was proposed. The next item that is unresolved, I guess, is the discussion that I had, item 3, which is that I recommended the Marshfield Fire Department review the plans and that you do a swept path analysis to show that the truck that they choose will be responding. Usually it's the worst case, the ladder truck can make a path through there. I don't remember what your comment letter said this morning.
We actually done that with, I had done that early on with Tom Colo. And we used the ladder truck template.
Okay, I never received any of that. Obviously, I wasn't party to that, so.
I think that was pre-submitted, that was pre-designed, because I wanted to make sure that I asked for the template. To make sure
Okay, so could you just provide that to the planning board, and I would like either chief or deputy chief to just respond, via email.
Deputy chief it is.
If you could send an email to him and just, email's fine.
Okay.
That's been addressed, and that he's happy with the FDC connection location and so on, because you don't have a hydrant on the site.
Right. We did, as Pat said, I spoke with the water department superintendent and went over the fact of the 6-inch main. We are providing a tap on the outside part of the building. The connection won't be made for the domestic inside the building, be on the outside, and there'll be a shut-off for the domestic, and there'll be a separate shut-off on the outside of the building for the 6-inch fire. So Paul DuRoss was fine with that.
I recommended that you talk to him for FDC connections, but he'll get a chop at the apple when you submit the building permit, so he'll tell you exactly where he wants them.
Right,
But
and that we have fire engineers and,
Right.
we have people who are responsible for that that's their wheelhouse.
The next several comments have all been addressed with revisions to the plans, and the last comment, discussion that I felt like we needed to talk about, but out in the hallway, I've got a little bit of a better education on safety and access that the school wishes to operate, and that is a discussion about a pedestrian crosswalk. So my concern was, or my comment was, since there are residential properties literally across the street, one about to be, is still under review by this board, that there could be an opportunity for a parent with a student that's attending to walk to school. And so a crosswalk across Commerce Way is what I was recommending. It's item 5C in my letter on page 2. And I think the applicant's team successfully, in my mind, convinced me that that was not desired due to the way they operate, and I'd like, I guess, the team to explain that to the rest of the board. So.
Sure. I think you can certainly address it.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have you address it.
So I see it as a safety issue. We've got 80 kids that are really contained. Kids come to school at 8:30, they're there, they don't leave campus, they don't go out for lunch, and we don't have designated field trips. We're really a self-contained campus, so I'm of the mindset that anytime you have a crosswalk that brings people to the campus, and we'd like to limit as many unexpected guests, uninvited guests to the campus as possible.
What is your name, Again, for the record? Just your name for the record.
Oh, your name? Oh, Ryan Plosker, Executive Director.
Sorry about that.
So what he explained to me was the crosswalk, even though it does provide pedestrian access, also creates the implication of pedestrian or public access, or inviting more public participation on the property, whereas the students are certainly welcome, and families and so on, but they want the student body to be protected and the security to be enforced. So I have no problem with not requiring it after hearing all that. So in a nutshell, we have a final traffic report that will be provided. The revisions to the site plan have been done satisfactorily. There's a little follow-up with the fire chief, and also to address that particular parcel, the comment from town planner's office. But I think for the most part, they've been very, very responsive, and it has satisfactorily addressed our drainage comments and our site plan review comments to this point.
And the traffic engineer, I spoke with Jack today, and he did say that he had reviewed the bullet points, and he didn't see anything that was going to be problematic. It was operational stuff.
Anything from the board?
I mean, I really didn't have any time to review anything getting it today. I'm not necessarily sure that I agree with the crosswalk scenario with the safety. The safety is separate from the crosswalk. The crosswalk is, regardless if you want people coming there or not, it's still a safety aspect. And the security of your students and the people on your property, that's a separate issue than just a crosswalk. People getting to where they have to go. You don't know when you're gonna need it, so I don't agree with that at all.
They could, there is no side, just FYI, there is no sidewalk on the side of the street that this property is on. We got a waiver of the sidewalk on, for both sides back in 2004, when we designed the original subdivision. The sidewalk is only on the other side.
So that means people don't walk there?
With the sidewalk.
They use the
People
sidewalk
walk
this
up
side.
there all the time. So I'm just saying, people walk there all the time. I
Yeah,
work
because-
over on Rockwood Road, so I'm up there all the time, and there's always people walking, dogs, everything else, and traffic. So I think whenever there's a safety thing, it should be definitely reviewed.
I guess our position is just that the crosswalk is just going to direct people from the sidewalk to our site. There's not crossing to another sidewalk. So we'd rather not see that happen.
I got it, I just don't agree.
That's our, kind of how we feel about it. If there's another sidewalk, I guess.
Well, they can go anyway, just because they're not going to your property doesn't mean they don't need to cross the street. Like, there's a whole bunch of things in that whole area, so people walk all over the place. So if there's a crosswalk that, if nothing else, it slows people down, that is what we want when we have a school.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's the whole purpose of a crosswalk, is to slow it down, you see people there, and you kind of pay attention. So that's where I come from with it.
Sure, I get it.
Kind of shouldn't be a big deal adding a crosswalk across there, correct?
I think it's more, we're
Yeah.
just concerned about
But
self-contained school, given the
I see both sides of the coin here, absolutely, but I think that was a pretty good point by Heidi, that it's, everyone in this room's had a concern with traffic, with everything going on in there, and a crosswalk just might be a visual just to kind of slow people down, period.
Would it be fair to suggest that perhaps we do a crosswalk, but we don't do the, what we don't want to do, these kids are special needs kids. We
No,
do
no,
not
I
lead people by a sidewalk to our front door when there's no other sidewalk on that side of the road.
Yeah.
Would it be reasonable to say, well, let's put a crosswalk? I like the idea, it slows people down.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, we can do it. We
Yeah.
can paint the sidewalk.
I agree with those, what they're talking about. I don't think we need a sidewalk, I mean, a
Yeah.
crosswalk there.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah, no, I
agree,
absolutely see
issues for
both
them.
sides, yeah.
It doesn't create any more safety for the public, so I agree with them entirely on this
You
issue.
do the crosswalk.
No crosswalk.
Do we have anything else from the board?
Yeah, quick question. You guys are categorized as a private school, correct? Are you governed by the same school markings and stuff like that as the public schools are?
We are not, that's actually, that's negotiated with the town. Not, we have done it, really the only thing that they usually mark with private special education schools is there'll be a sign that says school zone, 20 miles per hour. But besides that, there's not the blinking lights or anything like that.
Okay.
Anything else from the board? From the audience?
Bernie Dupuy from 6 Weatherhead Lane. I was at the previous meeting that you had on June 14th, and several questions popped into my mind after some of the things that came up. Age group of the students, can we get an answer to what that is? Is this a 2-story building or 1-story building? That wasn't clear to me as well. School buses, I think the answer was no, that it was all private drop-off. If I heard that correctly, I'm not sure if you could let me know. I think someone mentioned 150 peak weekday vehicle trips. I think it was Ed Pesky who said that. I thought, the impression I got was that each parent was dropping off one student individually, and there were going to be 80 students approximately when they're full capacity. So there's 80 trips in the morning, another 80 trips in the afternoon, along with additional staff coming in there. I'm not sure how many staff members are there as well, but it's probably going to be more like 200 trips, and that probably in itself isn't an enormous amount. But for someone who lives in that area, and for someone yesterday who was trying to leave that area and get out of that exit on Proprietors Drive, I could not. And the reason I could not is the Boys and Girls Club was there letting out at 4 o'clock. That line was not only in and around the Boys and Girls Club, it was done all the way past Roach Brothers. People were having trouble getting in off Route 139, even pull into Roach Brothers. This was at approximately 5 minutes to 4. I don't know what the conflict would be, whether the Boys and Girls Club emptying out is at the same time as school. I don't know that. And these are questions that pop into mind. Quite honestly, I was almost in an accident as I was going down Proprietors Green. Someone impatiently waiting in the line to come up the street pulled out and was heading right at me. I had to stop the car and wait until there was a gap in there so he could pull in. That's a dangerous situation. I'm just concerned about additional traffic being added to that, particularly at maybe at prime time of around 4 o'clock. It's a concern. If anyone living on that, and I'm in a car, I feel relatively safe, but walking could be even more dangerous in there. So those are my concerns.
So can I so I know the traffic with the Boys and Girls Club is strictly, it's the summer camp that they have right now. That's not normally the traffic that they get during the school, and you don't have a summer. So that kind of situation involving this crew, there wouldn't be a conflict because this is school and the other one is during the summer. And the traffic for the Boys and Girls Club normally during the school year is the buses drop the kids off generally, and the pickup is always scattered. So I know that that line that goes out to Roach Brothers would not be an issue for this crew.
They did mention the school year, I think, was 198 days as opposed to 180. So is there an overlap? In other words, our school kids might be out the end of June, are theirs going to be out July? I don't know that. And that's, again, it's a concern with the traffic and the kids. It just, they say from someone who lives in that area, I see it getting more and more and more congested.
Do you guys have an answer for those
Yeah,
questions?
Yeah.
Can Ryan answer that?
What's that? So, hold on. The ages are 6th grade to 12th grade, so that's step one. I think it's a single-story building with the exception of the gymnasium, which has a vaulted ceiling, but there's no occupancy on the second floor, obviously. The let-out time is 2:30. The place is a ghost town at 2:31. Everybody's gone, including staff. So 4 o'clock let out at the Boys and Girls Club shouldn't really conflict, to your point, Heidi, won't conflict. As far as the length of the school year, I think it's 180 something, 198 days. So, yes, the students will arrive in individual automobiles. There will be some smaller vans or buses that may come from another community, but it will likely only have one person in it.
Our drop-off, our total car drop-off is about 40, 45 kids, because kids will come from different cities and towns, and there'll be 3 or 4 kids on a bus, not each one individually dropped off by a parent.
Those buses are the smaller ones.
They're minivans.
For the vans.
The minivan, yeah, like a minivan.
Without snow days, when would your school year end?
June 22nd. This year was June 24th.
Yeah, pretty much right. Pretty much the same.
The big difference with our extended school year is we start the last week of August rather than after Labor Day. And we don't have the traditional holidays, so the city or town takes the Jewish holidays off on Good Friday or their professional development days. We just go straight through, so it's only a week difference when you compare it to all our public schools.
If I hear you correct, some of the small buses may be dropping off 3 or 4 kids at a time, as opposed to 80 individual parents and
Minivans.
minivans.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That would certainly help cut down on the traffic.
Overall, when we did the original subdivision, we were presuming industrial build-out, commercial, industrial, mixed-use build-out. The only thing I can think that's lower use than this use is mini storage. I can't think of any other use that's lower use.
Do you have anything, Ed?
That's it.
Happy with that? Okay. Any other questions, Brian?
I have a question that came up before, and it came up again tonight, the $630 per peak hour trip. That money would come from this organization and be given to the town? Is that how it works?
Ed?
Yes. So that's exactly what's intended, that the applicant would cut a check for the calculation, $630 times the peak hour trips, will go to the traffic mitigation fund for Route 139 to help with those intersections.
And the follow-up on that question is what happens to that money when the town gets it? Because I'm hearing, it's like an echo from the former Mill Creek. Money was supposedly given to town to widen that intersection, correct it. Nothing happened, so what's going to happen with, Ed, I think you mentioned 150 peak week.
I don't know where you're getting those numbers, sir, but I didn't mention any of those numbers.
2 meetings ago you did. You mentioned 150 peak weekday vehicle trips.
So I did for a different project, but not for this one. So the traffic engineering study calls for 79 morning driveway peak hour trips, 49 inbound, 30 outbound. It'll be slightly adjusted up because this was based on a 70 student population, not an 80 student population, but that's what we're looking at. So it would be in this case, 80 some odd times 630. Where the money goes, I'm sorry, I don't know. That's something that staff and perhaps others at the select board could answer.
Did you just not say 49 and 39 total?
So I said, I'll read it for you again, all right? This is verbatim. This is public information, you can also get it yourself. Okay? So it says, the project is expected to generate approximately 79 new morning driveway peak hour trips.
Okay.
Okay? That I predict will be slightly higher because this was based on 70 student school, not an 80 student school. Just a minor glitch. I'm sure you were originally talking to someone about a 70 student school at some one point. Now you change your mind and went to 80 later on, it looks like. So instead of 79 peak hour trips, it's going to be 80-something peak hour trips. And we'll just have to wait for the final response from the traffic engineer to be able to analyze that.
What about in the afternoon? You're just saying morning.
I'll keep going. The project is also expected to generate approximately 79 new driveway evening peak hour trips. And it's the opposite. It's 30 inbound, 49 outbound. So it's the same number in the evening as well.
79 in the morning, 79 in the afternoon.
Correct.
Kind of
So my
self-explanatory.
math really wasn't that far off. Well, I said 160, it's 158 peak hours.
So I would certainly consult with the town planner to decide whether those two get added or it's only one peak hour. It's a peak hour trip. It's the peak demand. If the peak hour in the evening was higher, I'd use that number. I wouldn't add them together.
We never
Doesn't
have.
get added, yeah.
We never have.
We've never added it before.
So I want to make sure I'm pretty sure that's the convention the town's been using, but I would just need to make sure that was the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Brian, again, I'm looking for an answer. That money comes into the town coffers, supposedly going to widen an intersection. Is that going to take place prior to some of these buildings going in there? It didn't happen with Mill Creek. It hasn't happened 3 years later. Is it going to happen? And I'm not blaming these people. They're not there. I'm just asking, what happens when that money comes in and things are supposed to get corrected for safety's sake?
It has
It's
to go
not
out to
getting
bid.
done.
It has to be bid
I
and
think that
designed.
should all be
That's the way it is.
contingent upon approval on this.
I think as Ed said, that's something you need to address with the selectmen.
Select board would have that answer, not us.
So we should get a group to get together and then,
You could ask
is
them.
it the DPW, the selectmen, who makes that decision as to what happens?
The selectmen control the checkbook, so I think that's where I'd start. Address it with them. But you've been here at several meetings with everything going on. You're obviously an involved resident. Traffic is obviously an issue. I think the applicant here has addressed it quite a bit, and I think they hit it right in the head when they said, I can't imagine anything back there less of an impact on the community and traffic than what is being proposed there.
Believe me, I'm not against the school.
I think it's a great cause. It's a good development. I think this project is, and unless it remains a dirt lot, I can't see less of an impact.
I wholeheartedly agree with you and welcome them in. I think it's a great idea. My concern really is not the school, it's increase in traffic and the potential for another Mill Creek down the road. There's where I'm coming from.
All right, so do we have anything else from the board? Any questions from the audience? So,
Real quick, Ed, are you satisfied with the conditions that, have all your questions been, we're really leaning on you?
So
and-
overall, if the board would like to take action tonight, I would make a condition, a recommended condition, that all my comments be satisfactorily addressed, and they do that in writing, which they're promising to do, and all the traffic engineer's comments, which are still forthcoming,
Yeah.
get addressed.
And Pat had brought up that his two conditions, that would be
Pat,
fine.
and Pat had a couple of things that he
Two,
wanted to
yeah.
get established as well.
Would the
So-
applicant be willing to do that? Of
course, sure.
Move this along?
Absolutely.
What do you think, Brian?
Happy to.
In the spirit of working together, I don't see any problem with that. We would have time to do that while other things, they're pursuing other avenues for their next steps.
Okay.
No problem.
so do you think, you feel confident that we could discuss this tonight and possibly answer it?
I think you
With the
could,
information
I
in
think
front
you
of us.
could close the hearing and take a vote with a condition that they would respond, satisfactorily respond to all the peer review comments, you know, collected by Pesci Engineering and the consultants.
Okay.
So, but if they don't, then it's closed. So we'd have to reopen it, or how does that work?
If they don't get to
No,
move
we-
forward to a building permit.
Yeah,
Should we just,
it would be conditioned on that.
Correct.
Well, how does the board feel about tonight? Is everyone satisfactorily answered, or?
I mean, if the peer reviews are satisfied with, if that would satisfy the peer reviews, I'd be fine with moving along.
I would also make sure that you also vote tonight that you agree that just so they know, that $630 per
peak hour
trip is a proposed traffic mitigation donation that they would need to make. And that we would determine, I would determine for you what that number is.
On the final traffic study.
Correct.
How do you feel, Mark?
You could condition the permit on, you know, the applicant's compliance with the peer review memos dated July 9th and June 30, and the traffic report, including mitigation. That's simple. That's great. We can do that. Absolutely.
Are you comfortable, Mark?
I'm pretty comfortable with what they've done so far. It's not like I don't know Brian and they will work whatever issues are finalized out. So it's not like we're not able to do that. I think they've shown the need to do it fast. They were up with me last night, exchanging emails till 11 o'clock at night, last night, trying to go through some of this stuff so that we would be prepared for tonight.
that's Pat?
So I think there's adequate comfort and confidence to move forward that way.
Well, I believe the applicant at the last meeting had mentioned that the school year was coming, that they would like to get this project underway, so.
Yeah, so I'm ready to
Start that
vote.
process.
You comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had one question. You mentioned that you withhold, without meeting the mitigations, you would withhold the building permit?
So a condition of approval, a condition that you could put in the actual condition that they could not, a building permit would not be issued without meeting the conditions. And you can list some standard conditions, okay? As well as this condition, that they'd have to respond to everything.
So none of these conditions would come after the building permit?
That's correct. No. I
Okay.
wouldn't want you to be.
Okay.
What we do sometimes in projects that are more complicated than this is that we'll have a pre-construction visit, and we sit down with Andrew, in this case it would be maybe Brian as the zoning board, and we would go through the special permit to make sure that each of the conditions were complied with. I would typically run a meeting like that, and then
You would be
Andrew
there,
like,
yeah.
we're good, here's the building permit,
Yeah,
and he
it'd be
would sign
there.
off. But we have to, and this
Yeah.
project is not as complicated that would warrant a pre-construction meeting, but it's imperative on us that, you know, when our contractors come in, they follow the conditions on the special permit. So that it helps us to do those meetings.
It
too.
would be with.
Well, I would maybe politely disagree one item. I believe that this is a big enough project that a pre-construction meeting is a good idea. I don't think they would have any issue with that, really.
No, not at all.
But, I mean, certainly the bigger and more complicated ones like Mill Creek and Modera.
Everyone we talked about.
I know, what can I say? Thank you, COVID.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing, you know, Webster Square, I did construction meetings all the time. Pre-construction meetings and then regular construction meetings. So it's absolutely warranted to do that, and I'm sure that that's something we could build in. And
we're happy to
Attorney
do it.
Galvin can certainly help us with the right wording for the
Conditions.
Happy to do it, and I, again, encourage it so that we don't get hung up on a condition that wasn't met by one of our contractors. They typically invite them to these meetings, and they get copies of the special permit where I typically excerpt the stuff that applies to them, so I don't have to worry about them, you know, doing something that doesn't comply with what you folks have asked us to do.
And Conley Construction is a 130-year-old firm, formed in 1880, 142, well, squeeze me.
Yeah.
So they don't fluctuate with their subcontractors.
You're looking great. You really look
We're happy to do
So,
that.
Heidi, how do you feel?
I mean, I think it seems kind of rushed. You guys have done a great job, and it's been nice to see a project that's just, everybody's moving forward with it, but we just got the stuff today, and I do think it's premature to be jumping into a vote. I think it can go to the next meeting, perfectly fine, and it's not gonna hold them up that much, because we did just get the paperwork today on stuff, and I think it's our responsibility to wait till we get all the peer review stuff, conditioned or not, to make sure that we are okay with all of it. That's just how I roll. I think it's very important to do that.
Steve, how do you feel?
Ready to vote.
Okay. So, you guys, everything's done, right? You're completed. Ed, you feel confident? Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I want to make a motion that we close, make sure I have the right one here. Conley Brothers Incorporated, is it 51 Commerce, Nancy?
Yes.
So
Yes.
2257 Conley Brothers Incorporated, 51 Commerce Way. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, no.
Steve Feeney, aye.
So do we have any further discussion on this?
I would really, I'd like to move forward, but I do agree with what Heidi's saying. We did just get this today. If she doesn't feel comfortable, I would hate to do it. I'd like to see it go, but if Heidi doesn't feel comfortable, I wouldn't have a problem kicking it one more meeting so she could review it all. I'd like to get a unanimous vote if we could. I don't have a problem going forward, but I don't have a problem conceding with Heidi to continue it one.
Okay.
We're relying on our professionals that we hired, right?
That is true. That is true, but also.
That's their answers about 10
Yeah.
times, I don't know.
Notwithstanding.
We don't have all the information.
I mean, you're right, you just got the stuff today. I wasn't reading some of it on the fly as well.
Yeah.
Could you?
That was my big thing.
To 2 weeks from now to decide or not?
Yeah, why can't we?
That was my thing. I'm really, again, leaning on the peer reviews for my determination, depending on it. But
I suspect we won't get any.
But I don't want to delay the applicant.
I mean, I think it's important for us to do that.
For me, I'm comfortable with, if you're comfortable, Ed, that makes me comfortable. That's why we hired you, is for peer review. If Kristen and Pat is your team and you're telling us that you're confident to move forward with this, I'm okay with that, because even though I've read, I try and read everything that came in, I'm not going to have as good an understanding of it. That is why we have you here, is to break this down to us. The drainage, you went over all the calculations. The things that I worry about are traffic mitigation, drainage, and water, and those have all been discussed. So those are my main concerns about this project, and that's why you're telling us that you're confident that where we are now, we're in a good place, and we can adjust this with language on a decision.
Right, they're at risk of having to comply with whatever final, responses, comments that we provide them, and they have to respond satisfactorily. We won't say it's completed or ready to proceed to building permit unless that's true. So we'd have to finish that review for the traffic and they have to provide some written documentation already that we've talked about. And so,
But you've done a lot of these, so you're confident with what you've seen in front of you. It's
right. I had a chance. I had more of a chance than you or Heidi today to read things, and so that's the difference.
And you're going to have time by the time the applicant gets more paperwork to you.
Right. So by us closing and deciding this tonight, all it does is give you the ability to start writing the conditions with Steve or Bob on how this is going to be put together.
Right. I would certainly ask. I know what Bob Galvin's on the call as well, on the Zoom call tonight.
I think Tony is now.
Pardon?
I think Bob left. He said he had another meeting. Tony's on now.
Oh,
I
we had
think.
another meeting. Okay.
Tony's on.
Okay, Tony's
I
on.
mean, you can do it the way you're talking about, but I just think, for everyone's benefit, if you're, it's gonna be hard to have a vote to say you approve it, and then you are then arguing over what conditions say after a vote. I mean, I think you at least need to know what you're gonna condition the project on before you vote on it, because if there's disagreements after, I don't know how you work that out when there's already been a vote to approve, but we actually can't figure out what the decision's actually gonna say because no one agrees. If that were to happen, I'm not saying it's gonna happen.
So Tony, are you recommending that we...
I'm confident that everyone's going to agree, otherwise you're kind of in limbo, or potentially in limbo, depending on what might happen.
So you're saying that we should get a preliminary agreement for the
And
next meeting that we
conditions,
all
don't
would agree to?
Conditions and vote on them?
The conditions and all that, is that what you're asking?
I'm not telling you that you have to do it, I'm just raising the issue that, you know, if there's a condition that the applicant doesn't like, and then there's a disagreement about it, now you have a voted approved project, but you can't write a decision.
Then,
You
really,
need to know what you're conditioning.
the issue is for them then, because if it's something they don't like, then they're the ones who are hurt by us making.
Actually, I think the town is in a pretty
necessarily
good
us,
position,
relying
the
on
way
professionals.
Ed just explained
And
it
if there's
to me, the way I
something
interpret
they
that
don't agree with,
explanation.
they're taking the risk here tonight.
But they've had an
opportunity. Me, but the onus would be on them to take that risk on, not us.
Yep.
We're relying on our professionals, and whatever they say, they may have a condition, we don't like it, but too late.
But they've also had the opportunity to review that, and they seem pretty content with what they've had in front of them. All right, I'm good.
All right, so again, I'll ask the board are we ready to vote on this tonight or not?
I am ready.
I'm ready. You're not. Are you ready, Steve?
For the school, I just think that it seems a little rushed.
Okay.
Regardless of the peers and all the information that we don't actually have, that was not finished. I would like to see that. I think it's important to see, and I don't think it's something that we should be rushing, regardless it's a great idea to have the school. I'm 100% on board with it, but I think it's important and to do our due diligence, that's all.
So Tony, if we do agree to, we're going to vote on this tonight, and we would agree with the conditions the way that Ed and yourself or Bob are going to write them, correct?
Do we know what they are?
Yeah,
They're
I
gonna
mean,
create
I don't think I can,
Don't we usually
I don't
vote
think I
on
can
them?
advise you to
We don't. You write them
have an
after the
applicant
decision.
agree with conditions that we don't actually have. I mean,
Just
I don't
seems so
think I can
stupid.
advise you that that's a good idea.
There's 2 weeks.
They can't promise you something when they don't know what it's gonna say. I just can't tell you that that's okay.
I don't think it's a good idea.
But they actually have had it. They have it. There's been communication with the two.
So-
You verbally
so
spoke about it.
The
It
dilemma
just
here
hasn't
is
been
that the conditions that I'm recommending are that they comply and respond successfully and satisfactorily to all peer review engineering comments, traffic, stormwater, water supply, and site plan, number one. They agree to the contribution of $630 per peak hour trip, number of peak hour trips to be designated later with their response to the peer review comments. And any other standard comments, standard conditions, work hours and so on that you would put in your decision. I don't see any problem with waiting 2 more weeks. I don't think it hurts the overall project. I don't gives everybody else a little bit comfort and confidence to put together a draft decision and put those in writing. And so it balances both of the concerns, but it's really
So
up
would you be
to all of
willing to
you.
work with Ed, Bob, and come up with a draft decision?
Of course.
And then we'll revisit this in 2 weeks?
The paint's going to be drying on the school when the kids are moving.
I'm telling, if
That's
I
the-
may, by
that's the
way of
time.
clarification, having the hearing closed, that it's my understanding that we won't be able to move forward because it'll delay us an extra school year, and the project will have to move to another location or some other, we'll have to rethink it. So the answer to your question, by way of clarification, is no. I couldn't agree to that. I can certainly agree to a condition that we comply with the peer review comments, as has been stated. We know what they are. We're willing to take that risk, and we're good to go. Happy to do it. We can comply with all of those things.
So even though the record's closed, so going to 7/26, you would not be able to move forward with the school. It would put you way past.
We're gonna have to open and let them,
Just don't-
we have to, wait, we have to agree, we're gonna now have to reopen. Does everyone agree on the board to reopen 22-57 for more comment?
Additional comment.
Second.
Yes.
I do. Heidi?
Yep.
Steve?
Yes.
I'm Steve Connolly Brothers. At the end of the day, we've got to build this building and get it done, completed, punched out, and in sufficient time for them to get all of their equipment moved into the school. School starts in
August 17th.
August 17th. They've got to be there a month before that, putting in desks, and boards, and equipment, and everything else. And we've got a winter coming in between, and we are up against the wall from a timing standpoint of getting this project started. It's very difficult. If it doesn't get started, if they can't open school on the 17th, you can't tell a bunch of kids that they're not going to school, they're not going to come till September or whenever. It's a very tight schedule.
Okay.
And I think if you look at the Addendum B, construction sequencing, if you look at the scope of work, that's a 2436 plan in full view, and it takes up half the sheet. There's a lot. This gives you an idea of the work that's involved. It's tantamount to what we did for Brian Curtis when we redid all of downtown, that scope of work. It's a small, it's not a big facility, but it's a ton of work. It's a lot of site work.
I built the same school in Beverly. It was 40,000 feet. This one's 28,000 feet. And I've been building buildings for a long time, and it's a tight schedule, particularly with the winter coming.
Okay.
And the site is not a level, clear and level
Understand.
cornfield.
All right, so I'm going to move that we close the hearing again, 2257, Conley Brothers, 51 Commerce Way. Do I have a second?
Second, Larry Keane.
All those in favor? Sorry.
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Coleman, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Hey, no, aye.
Steve Feeney. All right, well, I'm personally ready to go forward with this, with Ed's recommendations. I think we're covered. It gives us the upper hand. We get to write the decision. Bob will work with Ed. Ed's confident with everything that he has in there. Our team is confident with everything that's in there. I'm ready to move forward with this. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but.
I'm good. I'm good.
Mark?
I'm good.
Heidi?
Yep.
Steve? Okay, so again, 2257 Conley Brothers Incorporated, 51 Commerce Way. So we have a special permit and site plan approval. I have to do those separately, right? Yeah, so I'm going to do the special permit first. Can I make a motion that we approve 2257 Conley Brothers Incorporated special permit under 305 10.12 nonprofit in 305.504. Ed, how would I, so I'm gonna.
So I would, and Tony, step in here if I'm missing anything, but I would recommend that you are proposing a motion to approve the project, subject to at least the following 4 conditions. Number 1, that they respond, they have to satisfactorily respond to all peer review comments and design changes as a result of the peer review comments. Number 2, they agree to the traffic mitigation donation of $630 per peak hour trip, and the number of peak hour trips to be designated during the final peer review, traffic peer review effort. Third comment is that they agree to understand that draft conditions will be prepared for their review, but that you have the final say on those conditions. One of which, number 4, would be that a pre-construction meeting is held, and that they must pay for and contribute to an engineering escrow fund for regular construction inspections by your consultant. It could be Pat and I trading on that.
Okay.
To do construction inspections on behalf of the board, compliance inspections on behalf of the board. And so those are the 4 main ones. Again, the only one that's a little bit unclear is the standard conditions, the list of standard conditions in your draft decision. But I think, again, they're accepting the risk that would be what that would be. Some of your standard conditions are workplace, conditions, work hour conditions, getting, proper review by building inspector and fire and police, or fire department, excuse me, for the building permit application, so on. We'd have to go through all that.
You'll have that all in your standard, I mean, the way you set up.
It'll be put together in a decision that I'm sure Attorney Galvin's office, Tony and Bob have done this a lot of
Yeah,
times.
they'll have
And
no
they'll
problem.
put together a template for us to edit.
Okay.
So, Tony, did I miss anything?
No,
So you're comfortable with that, Tony?
that's fine.
Okay. So I'm going to adopt what Ed said.
I can only tell you that I've done this in several
I know.
communities, and they've done it that way, even though it's on the risk of the applicant, but it's the way the two bodies work together.
Work together. So I'm gonna adopt what Ed said.
Really?
I am. And, so do I have to change anything for the site plan review? And the site plan approval? Everything good, Tony?
Yes.
I can just adopt what Ed said, and what about on the site plan approval?
We vote that first.
What?
We vote that first, and then we do the site plan one? Or you do them together?
So I'll vote in first what we did with Ed, and then I'll do the site plan approval? All right, that sounds good.
Is that a yes?
So I'm gonna vote, gonna make a motion that I adopt what Ed said.
Or general conditions.
The general conditions on
Overall
2257 Conley Brothers Incorporated, 51 Commerce Way. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Coleman, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney. Now I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the site plan for 2257 Conley Brothers Incorporated, 51 Commerce Way. I don't think I have to add anything else to that, right, Nancy? We're just approving that and any of the changes that we make. So do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Coleman, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
so
we'll
much.
work with them and come up with a draft.
Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck.
We did.
Better judgment.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Continue
All
to
right,
work.
now the next Conley's from Commerce Way. This is beyond, I read that, but I didn't see it was on top of you guys, the solar, so. I think we had left the meeting open to take under advisement, so I don't believe I closed it, so we can have our final discussion. And Pat, did you come up with some,
He did.
there it is.
Yeah, I sent those, excuse me, I sent those over on Friday, I believe.
Yes, yep.
Suggested conditions that were in my previous letter, and just, put them into language for you to think about.
That we can adopt it into our answer. So, does anyone from the board have any more questions for these guys?
Did you get a copy of Pat's?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, they were on taking
No issues with what Pat has, yeah?
Nope, no, it's in line with what we've discussed throughout the
Okay.
meetings.
Anything else from the board on this?
No.
Anything from the public? Nothing? All right, so we are doing a site plan approval. So this is only site plan approval. Easy. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we close 2236 Patrick Conley Commerce Way. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Coleman, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway, aye.
Steve Feeney?
Steve Feeney, aye.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve 2236 Patrick Conley Commerce Way site plan approval. With the conditions from Amory Engineering. Do I need to put those, add that draft to it? Date, nothing. So Pat, do we have a dated plan that we would use for this? Or it'll be, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it up, but We do have a dated plan, I just forget what it is.
So we'd have a dated plan, and then with your comments,
His conditions.
your conditions, and then any changes we need to make to that plan that would apply to your comments, conditions.
Yeah.
Okay. So my motion, I'm going to make a motion that we approve 2236 Patrick Conley, Commerce Way, with the plan dated that I can't see. Anyone see the date?
No.
You guys?
I think it was revised April 13th. No, it said April 13th, but it was revised after that. I just don't think they put a revision date on it.
Yeah, that's correct. So the last hearing was,
But so that April 13th plan is the most recent?
no, there's one after that.
Alright, so-
We showed
Well, the April 13th revised plan, and with the conditions that Pat has given us, I would make a motion to accept that. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Thanks, Tommy, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
See you.
Thanks.
Is there anything left?
We don't have to see these guys anymore?
Yeah, these poor guys have been in here forever.
Same way.
The slow drag. All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Mark Wall, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conley, aye.